I still remember the sound the prince made when they buried him alive. Not screaming, laughing. Even with sand entering his mouth, he kept laughing like somebody who already knew he was coming back. People in my village still avoid that part of the forest today. And after what I saw with my own eyes, I understand why. My name is Emeka. I grew up in a small village in southeastern Nigeria. This happened in 2007 when I was 17 years old. Back then, our village still respected old traditions. We had a king, even though the government was officially in charge. The king handled village matters, land disputes, and family conflicts. People feared him more than the police. The king had only one son, Prince Jide. Everybody pretended to love him, but deep down, people were terrified of him. As children, we used to hear stories about wicked princes in folktales. But Jide was worse because he was real. The first strange thing about him was his eyes. He hardly blinked. Whenever he stared at you, it felt like he was studying your fear. He was handsome, rich, and educated. After university in Lagos, he returned to the village acting like he already owned everyone there. At first, people ignored his behavior because of his father. Then children started disappearing. Not many at first. Just one every few months. The first was a little girl named Amara. She was 6 years old. Her mother said she went to buy groundnuts near the market and never came back. The entire village searched for her. Nothing. Some people blamed traffickers. Others said ritualists from neighboring towns had taken her. Then another child disappeared. Then another. Fear entered the village slowly like smoke entering a room. Parents stopped allowing children outside after sunset. Mothers stood in front of their houses every evening shouting names before darkness came. But nobody suspected the prince. That is how villages work sometimes. Powerful people are protected by silence. One afternoon, my friend Chak came to my house shaking badly. At first I thought he was joking. Chak was not someone who feared easily. But that day, sweat covered his face even though the weather was cold. He told me he had followed the prince's driver into the forest because he suspected the man was stealing goats. Instead, he saw the prince himself standing near an old shrine hidden deep inside the bush. Chak said there were children's shoes hanging from tree branches. Different sizes. And he heard crying. I laughed at him because it sounded impossible. But Chak swore on his mother's life. That was the first time real fear entered my chest. 2 days later, Chak disappeared. Just like that. No goodbye. No trace. His mother ran around the village crying like a madwoman. I joined other young men to search the forest. We found nothing except one of Chak's slippers near the stream behind the prince's land. That night, sleep refused to come. I kept hearing Chak's voice in my head. The next morning, I decided to do something stupid. I entered the forest alone. I carried only a torchlight and a cutlass. I used the narrow farmer's path behind our compound and walked deeper into the bush. The deeper I went, the quieter everything became. No birds. No insects. Nothing. Just silence. Then I found the shrine. Immediately, cold spread through my body. It was hidden between giant trees wrapped in red cloth. Animal bones covered the ground. And hanging from branches were children's clothes. Tiny shirts. Sandals. School bags. Every part of me wanted to run away. Then I heard something. A weak sound. Like somebody coughing. Behind the shrine stood a small mud building with a wooden door. The smell coming from inside almost made me vomit. I pushed the door open slowly. At first, My eyes could not understand what I was seeing. Then everything became clear. Children. 3 children tied together in one corner. 1 boy and 2 girls. They looked weak and dirty. 1 girl could barely lift her head. My heart nearly stopped. I rushed toward them and cut the ropes quickly. The little boy grabbed my wrist tightly. "He comes at night," he whispered. I asked, "Who?" Before he could answer, I heard footsteps outside. Heavy footsteps. My body froze instantly. Then I heard the prince's voice. "Come. Cold. You should not have come here." My blood turned to water. I turned slowly. Prince Jide stood at the doorway smiling. Not angry. Not surprised. Just smiling as if all this was normal. I told the children to run. The boy and 1 girl managed to escape past him somehow, but the weakest girl collapsed before reaching the door. The prince did not even look at the others. His eyes remained fixed on me. Then he laughed softly. "You have seen too much." I ran immediately. Branches slapped my face as I sprinted through the forest. Behind me, I heard him following slowly. Not running. Walking. Like somebody who already knew I could never escape. By the time I reached the village, sunset had already started. I ran straight to the king's palace shouting like a madman. Villagers gathered around me immediately. At first nobody believed my story. Then the 2 escaped children arrived from another side of the village. Everything changed. The village exploded with anger. Men grabbed machetes and lanterns. Women cried and cursed loudly. Everybody marched toward the forest together. But when we reached the shrine, everything was gone. No bones. No children's clothes. Nothing. Even the red cloth around the trees had disappeared. Some people immediately accused me of lying. Then 1 elder entered the mud building. Seconds later, he screamed. The sound chilled my blood. Under the floor was a hidden pit. That was where they found the bodies. Small bodies. Too many. The smell was unbearable. Several villagers vomited instantly. 1 woman fainted after recognizing her daughter's dress. Even now, almost 20 years later, I still see that moment in my nightmares. The king himself arrived later that night. When he saw what his son had done, he collapsed immediately. But the prince never denied anything. That was the scariest part. He stood calmly while villagers tied his hands. No fear. No shame. Only silence. And the entire time, he kept staring at people one by one like he was memorizing faces. The elders gathered that same night. Nobody trusted the police to handle the matter honestly because of the king's influence and money. So the village chose old justice. Ancient justice. The kind our ancestors used before modern law. Prince Jide would be buried alive inside the evil forest. Some people may think that punishment sounds barbaric. Maybe it was. But after what the villagers saw beneath that shrine, nobody cared anymore. The next evening, the entire village gathered near the forest. Nobody cried for the prince. Not even the king. A deep pit had already been dug beside the shrine. As villagers dragged Jide toward it, he finally spoke loudly. I will not stay dead. Some women immediately began praying. Others stepped backward in fear. But the elders ignored him. They pushed him into the pit. Then something happened I still cannot explain. He started laughing. Not normal laughter. Deep laughter. The kind that sounded too heavy for a human throat. Even when sand covered his legs, he laughed. Even when it reached his chest, he laughed harder. Some villagers became frightened. Others poured sand faster. I stood frozen beside the pit. Because even after the sand covered his face, the laughter continued. Under the ground, people panicked immediately. Some villagers ran away screaming. Others kept digging and pouring sand desperately. But the laughter would not stop. It echoed through the forest like something alive beneath the earth. That night, nobody in the village slept. Dogs barked endlessly till morning. Around midnight, rain suddenly began to fall even though it was dry season. Then the drums started. Soft drums from deep inside the forest. Boom. 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 Nobody dared step outside. The next morning, the king was dead. They found him hanging inside his room. But that was not the worst part. Under his body, written on the floor with blood, were the words, "He is awake." After that, strange things began happening across the village. People claimed they saw the prince walking near the forest late at night. Children said a man whispered their names outside windows after midnight. One hunter disappeared completely. Another was found wandering naked near the shrine, repeating the same sentence over and over again. He was laughing under the ground. 3 weeks later, the elders ordered the shrine burned completely. Every tree around it was cut down. After that, the strange events reduced. But they never stopped completely. Even today, villagers avoid that forest after sunset. And during heavy rain, some people still claim they hear laughter coming from underground. I moved away from the village many years ago. I now live in Abuja with my wife and children. Most people think our village simply suffered trauma after discovering a serial killer. Maybe they are right. Maybe Prince Jide was only a wicked man. Nothing more. But sometimes, around 2 a.m., during heavy rain, I wake up suddenly. And for a few seconds, I hear it again. That laughter. Coming from beneath the ground. If you enjoyed this story and want more African horror stories and dark folktales based on real village legends, don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment. Your support helps bring more stories like this to life.